as the touring will go on, we'll maybe mix things up and start throwing some of the other ones just to familiarize people with all the new material.
Well, we talked a little bit earlier about the lead-off single, the Sparks tune.
Yeah.
Toughest Girl in Town, and you guys did a video for that also.
Yeah.
What was that experience?
Well,
like?
there's a guy named Michael Perlmutter, I believe is Michael's last name, who's done all the videos with us since we formed the band. And we were really at kind of a loss because they were saying that you got to get this done quickly. We're releasing this, let's get it out there, guys. And we're kind of, what are we going to do? And we kind of suggested to Michael, what do you got in mind? And the first thing he ran back at us, we just went, perfect, this is great. Because it really is, and it's really just a lot of the faces of some of the most poignant women around it, and the way things have been going for women in this country. I think it was really important to do something that pays homage to women.
Yes.
They're really getting the raw end of the deal right now with some of the things that are going on with health care for them and voting, everything. It's a very insane time that we're living in. So to have something that pays homage to women was great. So we had a few suggestions, but basically Michael just nailed it from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I was thrilled because he's done, everything has been kind of on the way things are in this business, and everything's kind of on a shoestring, so it was really, the stuff he's come up with is really creative, and I feel very fortunate that we managed to meet this guy and work with him for all these videos.
Here we are, 2022, music videos. Back in your day, when you were with James and Jackson, music videos were pretty much far and few between. So how was that process for you?
Well, yeah, there was that period where, when MTV first hit and all that, and all the dynamic of the business changed, where all of a sudden there were so many times where it didn't matter what they sounded like, what did they look like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it became much more of a
more
visual.
about the spectacle than the musicianship.
And it always was frustrating when you'd hear about, like they're telling you, well, your album budget's $75,000 because we've got $300,000 for the video.
Yeah.
I think, geez, what's the importance?
It's kind of backward.
Yeah.
And what's on MTV now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all
not a lot of videos.
No, so, but apparently it is still incredibly important and viable.
Sure.
What you worry about is if it suddenly is going to become like a TikTok mentality where you're going to be doing videos that are 30 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's there's so much going on that it's not that I don't get it. It's just I question the value of it sometimes, but I leave that up to the management people that are in charge of that stuff and think something. If they think something's important, then let's do it. But because I don't sit and watch this stuff myself.
You've been in concert videos, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Genesis and Phil Collins and whatnot.
Yeah.
So obviously, those are videos, so to speak.
That's a whole other animal.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, especially if it's a viable act that really is doing it, and really to see, artists at the top of their game and just sit back because you can't always get to concerts, and a lot of concerts you don't want to go to just because of what you'd have to go through to get to the concert. It's such a big scene. I would sit there with Phil and we'd be looking out at 80 or 100,000 people back in the stadium, and we're just kind of going, I'm really glad to be up here. Not in the middle of that.
That was a huge tour for you, and was actually in 2 parts.
Yeah, it was the last one, the Not Dead Yet tour, was interesting because his son became the drummer in the group, and Nick was 16 when we started, and he was 18 when we finished it. And he was a really good drummer when he was 4. He was on the road with us all the time, and he had a drum kit in the dressing room. He'd walk in, there's this little squirt sitting in there, just, not banging, playing. And when it came time to put a new drummer in the band, he really auditioned for it. He didn't get the gig because he's Phil's kid.
No, he was paying
He got it.
attention.
Yeah, he did his homework. He knew all this material, and he came in, and it got better every night. We'd sit in the dressing room, and he was picking everybody's brains, trying to figure out how to get better and better and better. So
Trivia for you, Stephen.
Pardon?
Trivia for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Leland's favorite Phil Collins song to do in concert. Can you name it?
I couldn't, no.
Well, I love them all, but I'll tell you, my favorite one when we play it is In the Air Tonight. Just because the tension that gets created, waiting for that drum fill,
Right.
Yeah.
is so intense. Yeah, it's a really amazing thing. You can feel the room. Just the funniest one was in 2004 when we did the first Final Farewell tour. There was always a thing where Chester was playing drums and Phil had his drum kit set up. And so Chester Thompson. So as the song evolved and developed, the Phil, as the drum fill neared, he would work his way over because he's wandering around the stage during the whole song. He'd like be at the drum kit. Well, on that tour, we had stairs going up to a huge balcony, and all of a sudden, like halfway through the song, where Phil would normally be getting close to the drums, he's walking upstairs, and you could see people going, "What's going on here?" So, well, as he got to the center of it, like a second before the drum fill happened, a drum kit came out of the floor, and he stepped into it and played the drum fill, and the place would go berserk.
Perfect, brilliant.
I mean, it's just the tours are so beautifully crafted with him. I mean, they really think about every nuance of what's going to make it work. And it breaks my heart that chances are we're really not going to tour again. I mean, his health is very questionable.
It was kind of remarkable that he came back out again, because there was a period of time where we thought he thought he was done, I guess.
Yeah, he really did. I think he really came out in the back of his head, I think he really came out to give Nick the opportunity to feel what it was like to be on stage on a tour that big.
Because pass the legacy on.
Yeah, because there was talk, like when we were rehearsing, that Phil was maybe going to play In the Air Tonight.
Yeah.
And we had a kit that lowered down but he was having so much trouble with his leg that he couldn't even get up on the thing. And we finally looked at him and said, pass the baton. Just let Nick do it. And it ended up being great. And you could look over and see Phil, and it was like kind of button busting time out there watching his excitement. Yeah, it was really good, and it turned out to be great. And the thing that was also great is when you're dealing with, on the one hand, there's always that question of is the audience going to accept a frail Phil? They're so used to this guy that's playing drums and running around the stage and just this whirling dervish kind of a guy. Suddenly is committed to a chair, because he can't do any of that stuff. But the people wanted to be in his presence, and they wanted to hear the music.
And the voice, too.
Yeah, and so, they sold out every gig we played. We did.
Sure.
And we're all kind of still in the back of our minds, still going, maybe a little more down the line, we'll see. But it's his call. He's happily back living in Switzerland and stuff, and got through a really bad relationship, and so hopefully he's getting healthier and feeling better. I'm hopeful. I wish him all the best because I love the guy dearly.
Well, back to the immediate family.
Yeah.
We started our conversation with this being the first gig of the 2022 tour.
Yeah.
You mentioned you're going to New York, and then in January on the 15th, I see on the website you have a gig booked at the Iridium.
There's a bunch
in
of
New
gigs
York
on
City.
the East Coast, I think.
Les Paul's former lair.
Yeah, we've played there twice now. And
It's
it's
a really
fun
neat
room
room.
to play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mojo
Yeah,
in there.
sure. A lot of history, a lot of...
Yes, I'm excited about going back there again. And then we've got these gigs like the second half of next week when we get back from New York. We're doing the other Canyon Clubs and then the Coach House.
Yeah.
And there's some other gigs in December. And things are building slowly, but we've got some things that we have to deal with within the band that are going to kind of hold things off until a little bit later in the year for us.
And then you got to squeeze in the session work as well.
Yeah, I've got week after we get back from there, I've got Peter Asher's doing a he's got, I don't know what other guys are on that one, but I'm with him for a couple of days, and then there's another guy named Ned Albright who I work with, and we're doing an album with him for a couple of days, with Herman Matthews on drums and Dean Parks on guitar. So, I mean, it's like I'm always looking for stuff to do. I like working, and I like variety. So anytime somebody offers an opportunity to do something, I'll show up.
Your first time you ever stepped in a studio, when was that?
Well, the very first time I ever stepped in a studio was in 1967, and I was in a band called Group Therapy, and we were not allowed to play on our record. We were too young and inexperienced. It was at Ocean Way at United Recorders in Hollywood, and I'm sitting in United A looking through the window, and it's the Wrecking Crew playing. It was Hal Blaine and Carol Kay and all those people on it.
They didn't let the Birds play on their first record either.
Or the Association or any of those people. So it was one of these things where I thought I could never do this.
Or the Beach Boys.
And, yeah. And 3 years later, I was working with those people every day. But then after that, I was in a band called Wolfgang, and we went in the studio up in San Francisco with David Rubinson producing, and we cut 8 songs, I think, 6 or 8 song demo, which nothing ever happened with that. But my first official session that was Brian Hyland in 1970. And I think Brian, and it was being produced by Del Shannon. And Brian and Del, I think, came and saw James and Carol's show at the Troubadour and decided, I think Russ played on that also, so they hired us. So I actually worked with Brian before I ever worked with James, because they had the first album I did with James, I think, was One Man God or Mudslide Swim. I forget which one was first. But the sessions I did with Brian was before that. So that was my first many takes.
Do you still feel the presence though when you're on stage and you see yourself? I can't believe how lucky I am to do this.
I pinch myself every day I get to do this. I mean, you get to play music for people and hopefully make them happy and enjoy themselves. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, but a lot of times that doesn't work out.
You got to feed your Basset House.
Absolutely.
Well, we should probably wrap it up, and we really appreciate
it's great to see
catching
you
up
guys
with you.
and be able to see you in person.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So all the best for tonight's gig.
How long is the set tonight, you think?
I think the contract on this, I think it's 70 minutes is what they tell you have to do, because especially tonight there's 3 acts on the bills.
At what point are you sweating?
Not now that it's cooled off outside, not at all.
Pretty cold in there. Yeah.
I like it myself, but I'm just excited. I'm just looking forward to it.
You've got a YouTube channel. I can follow you on that.
Oh yes, YouTube channel.
It's been amazing. That's something.
That was what you probably saying during COVID was.
Yeah, it gave me something to look forward to every day, when everything else kind of had dissipated and gone away. And I mean, I'm looking at it, and I know there's 212,000 people now on the channel, I think. But I try to post. I was going to post today, and things got too crazy with this and everything.
Well, you don't always have to feed them.
I know, but I try to.
Whenever it's convenient.
Well, one of my problems.
You're not a slave to it. So
yeah, but one of the hardest things for me is like when I'm digging up projects that I know I worked on, then trying to find out what tracks he played on if there's multiple musicians and multiple bass players. Because I was looking up today like Sarah Brightman, because I worked with her, but I think Bob Glaub and one other guy also played on some songs. So then it comes down to sitting and listening and figuring out which ones you're on. And I'm still digging through Jim Neighbors and Andy Williams and all these people, and trying to find stuff I did. Because there's a lot of information out there, but there's a lot of shit that isn't out there.
Yeah.
And so you're like, it's become a very forensic experience.
Forensic, yes.
You did a lot of TV things as well, by the way.
Yeah, I did all of Mike Post stuff.
Yeah.
And Mike is in the movie.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
great.
interviewed in the movie. It's great. It's really, really it's complimentary. It's really sweet. And there's Steve Postel from the immediate family.
Well, hello,
Is that a
Mr.
band?
Postel. How are you?
No, it's a tranny bowling team.
I average 60.
Oh,
Is that good?
yeah,
Oh.
you're in.
And how long you guys know each other? How many years?
Well, when I moved to LA, we met right when I got here, so we're at like almost 20 years.
Never a dull moment.
No.
No.
He's the first one of these mugs I met.
First one of these mugs you met?
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
God.
Yes, that was
If he'd
good.
have started with one of the others, this would have been a big disappointment.
This was good to see. It's me. Look, I promise.
Yeah. So we're dealing with the COVID chaos.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels, everybody. Stay healthy.
Thanks, Ed. Take care.